October 14th, 2:47 a.m. The cold seeped through the reinforced glass, but the sweat on the palms was internal, a frantic heat against the chill of absolute zero. A single line of code, flickering green on a screen the size of a billboard, represented the fate of global finance. We were watching a digital supernova bloom, a cascade failure designed to erase trillions in an afternoon. The question wasn't if it would happen, but how. A single, ghost-like entity named BlackSuit could orchestrate the destruction of the world's infrastructure from a server rack nobody knew existed. And then, the twist. The only thing standing between oblivion and everything we owned wasn't a government agency, but a handful of ghosts who had already died once. The digital tremor began softly, a misplaced decimal in the Tokyo Stock Exchange, dismissed as a trading error. But for the few who understood the language of zero-day exploits, it was a tuning fork vibrating just before the shatter. The initial breach, the opening move, was so elegantly simple it defied detection. A compromised firmware update pushed to 400,000 industrial control systems across 4 continents. No alarms sounded, no red flags waved, just the quiet sound of a key turning in a lock that was supposed to be unpickable. They called the operation Cerberus, not for the mythological guard dog, but for the 3 distinct pillars of the attack: the financial grid, the power infrastructure, and the communication backbone. BlackSuit wasn't interested in ransom. The motivation was systemic collapse, a complete reset. The architects of the counterstrike knew they couldn't fight BlackSuit conventionally. Any engagement would tip off the attacker, forcing an immediate catastrophic deployment of the dormant code. They had to neutralize the source without the source knowing it was being neutralized. 6 months earlier, the whispers started in the shadows of a closed-door summit in Geneva. A collection of former intelligence operatives, disgraced cyber warfare specialists, and exiled cryptographers, the best minds the world had discarded. They were ghosts because, officially, they didn't exist. They met in a basement beneath a decommissioned library, the only network connection running through a bespoke quantum entanglement relay smuggled from a defunct Soviet project. One of them, known only by the handle Oracle, was the linchpin. Oracle had hunted BlackSuit for years, tracing digital echoes across the dark web, always one step behind. The feeling of that pursuit was like chasing smoke in a hurricane. The first breakthrough came not from code but from poetry. BlackSuit always embedded a tiny, almost imperceptible signature into the initial exploit payloads, a single obscure line from a 17th century Dutch lament about betrayal. Oracle recognized it immediately. It wasn't random, it was a marker left by a peer, a former colleague from the clandestine Project Chimera, a unit disbanded after a catastrophic failure a decade prior, a failure that cost lives and careers, including Oracle's assumed identity. The knowledge gap widens. BlackSuit wasn't just an enemy, they were a ghost from the past, intimately familiar with the tactics of Oracle's old team. The timeline shifted again. We jumped back to the day Project Chimera dissolved. The air in the sterile briefing room was thick with accusations. A major national security breach had occurred, traced back to an insider. The scapegoat, conveniently, was the youngest member of the team, Elias Vance. Vance vanished, presumed dead in a staged car accident overseas. Oracle always believed Vance was framed, a fall guy for a deeper corruption within the agency itself. Now, seeing the Dutch lament, Oracle understood. Vance hadn't been framed. He'd been activated. Back to the present, the pressure building like kinetic energy trapped in a confined space. The Cerberus team had pinpointed the physical location of BlackSuit's primary command node, a heavily shielded subterranean server farm beneath a seemingly innocuous industrial recycling plant in the Siberian hinterlands. Getting a physical team in was impossible. The only path was a digital intrusion, designed to look like a system self-correction, a phantom update that would subtly reroute the Cerberus payload, the kill switch, directly into the core. The risk was staggering. If the payload was detected before execution, BlackSuit would initiate the countdown immediately. The digital footprint of the infiltration had to be non-existent, a whisper in the noise floor of global data traffic. This required a diversion, a sacrifice. One member of the Cerberus team, an expert in analog jamming, volunteered to create a massive electromagnetic pulse over a major financial hub in Singapore, masking the digital intrusion signatures. The implication hung heavy in the air. The jammer would be instantly identified, arrested, and likely disappeared by the very forces they were trying to save. The sound of a heavy door locking echoed in the silence of the base. The moment arrived. As the jammer activated, plunging several city blocks into temporary darkness, a momentary flicker across the world's attention, Oracle initiated the injection sequence. Every keyboard click felt like the crushing of bone. The screen remained green, but the underlying architecture was shifting. We weren't breaking in. We were using BlackSuit's own architecture against itself, flooding its memory buffers with junk data designed to mimic a system integrity check. The silence on the command line was deafening, punctuated only by the faint rhythmic hum of the obsolete cooling fans in the Geneva basement. Then, the first sign of success. Not a crash, but a digital seizure. The cascading failure sequence targeting the power grid stuttered, freezing at 87% deployment. BlackSuit's defensive protocols kicked in, attempting to purge the corrupted data. But the corrupted data was the kill switch. It was designed to self-replicate within the purging routine. The system was now eating itself. A single, cryptic message flashed across Oracle's monitor, bypassing the intrusion shield. "You always were predictable, Oracle." The central mystery had to be resolved now. Who was BlackSuit? Oracle typed a single command, a legacy handshake protocol from Project Chimera, a test only Vance and Oracle knew. The system hesitated, then responded not with code but with a voice recording, distorted, synthesized, but undeniably alias Vance. He confirmed he was alive, but the message wasn't a reunion. Vance explained that the system hadn't been designed by him for malice but for defense. Project Chimera had discovered evidence that a shadow organization within the global regulatory bodies was planning to seize control through systemic debt manipulation. BlackSuit was not the attacker, it was the failsafe, designed to destroy the system if those controllers tried to implement their endgame. Vance hadn't betrayed his team. He had been running a desperate defensive operation against the true enemy, an enemy that had just detected Oracle's counterstrike. The final, chilling realization. By stopping BlackSuit, Oracle hadn't saved the world from chaos. They had just removed the only defense mechanism preventing the true architects of collapse from taking over cleanly. The green line on the screen flickered, then turned a deep, aggressive crimson. The Cerberus team had walked into a trap set years ago. The silent confirmation was the sound of emergency lockdown protocols engaging across the city above them, the distant wail of sirens no longer just external noise, but a signal aimed directly at the basement. The global heist to stop BlackSuit was over. The real heist, the one that had been running in plain sight all along, was just beginning.